What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining us for episode 8 of First Eps. We've got a super big show today. We just watched the first episode of the new Netflix animated series, DOTA, Dragon's Blood. We're going to talk all about that. We're also going to talk about our favorite fantasy genre things, books, movies, all that good stuff. And then a giveaway, our first ever giveaway, our first ever First Eps favorites box. We had a couple big milestones this week, and we want to share with you guys. So all that being said, we got a lot to get into. My name's Eric.
I'm Keith.
This is First Eps. All right. So Keith, how are you today?
I'm doing real good. How you doing?
I'm doing awesome. We just watched the first episode of this brand new show, DOTA 2. Dragon's Blood. We're gonna get into it. We're gonna talk about it, but first, this is a couple firsts. This is our first animated series we're doing. Yep. Our first anime, specifically.
Yeah.
Our first video game based property, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And and the first thing that we really know nothing about this game. I was trying to compare it to something. We really didn't know anything about NASCAR with the crew. So, at least we have the edge where we know fantasy stuff, which is why the reason we watched this. It looks cool. The trailer looked pretty dope.
Yep. Everybody loves Dota. Who plays it? We've all heard of it. We played a couple of MOBAs, not Dota, but we're let's try this. See what happens.
Yeah. What MOBAs did we play? Well, obviously we love Smite. We've put in a lot of time on Smite.
Oh, Smite Afro. I'm an Afro. Yeah.
Afro.
Yeah.
If
I
never
coined that too, by the way.
So for anybody that is not familiar with this style of game, it's a MOBA. It's a massive online battle arena.
Yeah.
And usually the premise is it's 5v5. All the characters have specific powers, abilities, and you have to capture their base, basically.
Yeah. More or less.
Smite is the one we're obsessed with. It's a free-to-play game. Check it out if you think that sounds good at all, because Smite, and then they use gods. They use real gods that they give powers and stuff. It's super fun. We've played that a lot. What other games? We played that Lord of the Rings one. That was the first one that we got into.
I wish I could remember what it was called. I think it was on the PS3.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
That was the first time that we would get together and we would put our TVs next to one another and play side by side.
Yes.
Regularly.
I would bring over my TV. And this is when they were just getting small enough you can actually carry them around.
Yes. Yeah, that was such a fun game. I remember you played as that Radagast all the time.
Wait, I played as Radagast and Galadriel. Those were the
Galadriel.
two.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember who you played as most of the time.
I don't even remember. I think it was a man, one of the just normal dudes. No, Boromir or something like that.
No, they didn't have. Did they have Boromir? I
think they had all the characters in it.
Oh God!
I remember it was just some normal, regular guy. I would never have played as a hobbit. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, I don't think you played as a hobbit. Are you sure you didn't play as what's his name? I swear you played as one.
I don't know. I don't even really remember the game too much. So let's just
there was Sauron. He would come around sometimes.
Oh, I think I did play as him every once in a while.
Yeah. There was one of the ring race people who would come around who was in the other team. I don't remember who else was on it. It was old but it was fun.
It was fun. That was definitely that was when I realized I was dude, I love these games. And then I just really, none of them have really resonated with me. I tried that Paragon and a couple others.
Does Overwatch count as one? Not really.
No, they have some similarities for sure. Okay. But
we were into that one for a long time.
Yeah, we still are. Overwatch 2 eventually.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh my God. Yeah.
All right, we got a lot to talk about. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the first step of DOTA, Dragon's Blood. So now, like we said, this is based on the game. Now, DOTA stands for Defense of the Ancients.
I was going to ask you that pop question.
Yeah, I had to look it up. I don't know anything about this. So I also found out that it was a mod that was made. It was created by the community for Blizzard's Warcraft 3.
Oh, no, I didn't know that. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
and then so Dota 2 was really the first full game, and that's what this show is based on, Dota 2.
Yep.
And this show was created by Ashley Miller, the writer of Fringe, Terminator, Sarah Connor Chronicles, and then co-produced by Studio Mir. They're the animation studio behind Legend of Korra, Voltron, Legendary Defender, and Kipo and the Age of Wonder Beasts, which if you've never heard of that, that's on Netflix. It's such a weird, strange show, and I totally recommend it. It's very, very cool.
Kipo and the Age of Wonder Beasts?
Yeah. It's so strange, dude, but it's so like beautiful and like a weird mix of like weird music, like hip hop music and stuff like that in there. It's really cool.
Nice.
So the style of the show is anime with a little bit of a more of Americanized style to it.
Yep.
As far as the animation goes. What was your take on the animation before we get into the story?
Oh, I thought it looked great. It reminded me a little bit about that kind of 90s anime. Like it reminded me of what is it called? The Castlevania one. We talked about a couple of episodes again too, but it has that same kind of almost a classic anime look to it, I felt, and I really liked it. I thought it was visually very interesting, and I was excited to watch more of it. And again, like you, I had no idea anything about Dota besides, I was just thinking real quick. I think it's because it's played on PC mostly, and neither of us have one. So
same thing. Same as like League of Legends.
Yeah,
that's the other real big one that we never got into. Because of that.
But I probably would love it if I did.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, this was great. Yeah, and then I found this guy too. By the way, this is Keeper of the Light. I think his name is.
He's a character.
One of the, like 800 people. Yeah, who you could and it said he fought with his intelligence as a one-man support for the team. And I love playing support characters, so I like this guy. He reminds me of Gandalf. I don't know anything about him, but again, let us know in the comments what we think about him. He seemed like a cool guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he looks right up your alley for sure. So the show starts.
He made an appearance.
Yeah, he didn't. Yet. No, not yet. The show starts off. It gives us a basic rundown of it was very much like Lord of the Ringsy, like how it starts off where they're talking about like Sauron and the One Ring and stuff like that.
Man have clashed for eons. Yeah.
Except this was Terror Blade, which is like the dumbest friggin' name ever.
I thought that too, and I'm like, I don't want to insult anybody who's a huge fan of Dota. That sounds like a real cool.
It's
character.
Dumb. Now
it sounded like you couldn't think of a better name than that.
It's like old, so like we'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but like,
okay,
yeah, I mean something better like Scary Knife or Horror Sword.
Right. Like Blood Wraith. What about that? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, but yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, it gave us the backstory. I even after that, I was like, I don't know what he's saying.
No.
I picked up on Terrorblade. Yeah, the dragons,
and then there was somebody who was in prison, but through all the chaos, saw the clear path, and then the thing started. Right? Isn't that kind of how
and it started with like it went right in and started with a dragon battle, like right off the bat.
Yes.
And our lead character Davion. Is that how you say it? Davion, which as I was watching it, I was like, this dude's voice sounds super familiar. And I had to look him up. There's a guy named Yuri Lowenthal, and he was the voice of Peter Parker, Spider-Man in the PlayStation Spider-Man, which I spent a lot of time playing. So
that's funny. Nice.
Yeah. So
I love when you start to know the voice actors of the games.
Yeah. Because they all stick together. Like they all do the same thing. Like, you know, how like Nolan North and who's that other guy that's in everything? I don't know. But
who was the woman that did the Viking one? Also played as Velma in Scooby-Doo.
Linda Cardellini.
Yes. Classic. Yes.
So all right. So we got Davion, and he like fought this dragon, he stabbed the shit out of it. And then
went on the ground, wrestling through the ground. He was pretty ballsy too, because this particular dragon burrows under the earth to protect itself, and then comes out to try to attack its prey. And this guy was a dragon hunter, and he didn't give two shits about that. He went under the earth to hunt that thing after it tried to evade him.
He did, and he's got his cool light up knife thing.
Yeah, which I was like, it acted as like an underground like lantern, and then also stabby. Yeah,
it's like a stabby lantern.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
do we know, is he a character in Dota? Did you look that up?
I think so.
Okay.
I didn't look it up. I probably should have to see. I don't know. Yeah, I now
like, is he one of like this guy, like one of the playable characters, or is he like I don't know?
Gotta be right. No, I have no idea.
I assumed.
Yeah, I did too. There's got to be like a huge cast of characters in that game. I'm going to assume from here on out that every single person that was in this show is a playable character in the game. The bartender, the
bartender. I don't know about that.
I
thought all the
drunk people in the bar.
Maybe.
Yeah. Oh, then there's that big drunk dude who sounded like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Do you think he's a playable character?
Oh, let's hope not. I mean, I pegged him. I'm like, oh, this guy's gonna get killed by the end of the episode right away.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
No,
I'm talking about Truman ones.
You're talking about that. Yeah, I'm talking about the guy who was like he was like drunk and racist towards the elf.
Towards elves.
We're getting ahead of ourselves. So let's just run through. So they're in a bar. After the dragon stabbing incident.
Yep.
And
because after you have a big exciting night, you have to go and have a night at the inn.
Hammered. Davion, he's got like 3 ladies on his arms.
Some women, get some wine. Well, I think he got beer instead. Some mead.
Mead for sure. He meets up with the lady in the bar. She wants some ice rack white, whatever that is, and they're
classy,
like,
classy broad.
Classy.
Right away.
Yeah. And she's trying to do a trade with like we find out he's an elf and then we realize that like they hate elves, the classic fantasy trope.
Yeah, you never know if elves are going to be ones that people look up to and are in awe of, or if they're going to be this brand where they're like a lower class. And this Dota has them as a lower class now. I was like, okay. And he hid himself under a cloak and was trying to do some kind of a we don't really know what, but he's working with the woman to try to give her some kind of, was it an item or a good? I don't remember what it was.
They were trading for something called Lotus, whatever that is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so then Davion, we see that he's like a good guy because he saves the elf and tells him to get out of there, run. So that's cool.
Now, to be fair, the princess. Oh, we don't know. The woman before this happened. Spoiler, sorry. Did run to try to help the elf too. So I don't know what she may or may not have been doing, but
right now, we don't know anything about her. Like, I don't know. She was with some other girl who I think was my favorite character on the episode, Marcy.
Yes, not our real estate friend from 2 episodes ago.
No, but a different cool character. It's very similar to our friend, the real estate.
Marcy, I love it.
So and then we see like the captain of the dragon army thing is like drunk and he's like talking shit. So like he's like hearing voices.
Yeah. He was the one that I was like, this guy's one of those archetypical guys. He's gonna have to bite it by the X. He's just too one-dimensional.
But then we see he gets possessed by some sort of demon.
Do you know what happened there? Was it in his sword? A sword glowed green. Okay.
Yeah. It was something with his sword. I don't know what it was or what.
Out by the well, very, very drunk. He picked up a sword, it was turned glowing green, and then all of a sudden his eyes turned green. Now, Eric, if you had seen that, let's say you were exiting the bar with one of your wenches for the night, and you had seen this guy's eyes turn green like that, would you gone up and try to see what was going on? If you needed help, would you walk away slowly with your gal? Would you go?
Yeah, I would definitely walk away slowly, and I would just be like, "Yo, you see that dude's fucking eyes, man?
Yeah,
they were green." And then she'd be like, "I didn't see it," and I'd be like, "Yeah, all right."
I don't believe you. Gotcha.
Those are not the type of women I'd be leaving the bar with.
Oh, right, right. You'd be going with the princess, right?
Classy, yes. Classy dames.
Yep.
But speaking of which, then we get to the very next scene. We see Davion waking up, fully nude. Yeah, we see a nice animated pubis region.
We do. I was laughing about that. I was like, "Oh, we missed that for the couple last episodes. We didn't have any
true,
but they've come back with a vengeance.
With a vengeance. Very ripped, animated dragon fighting form.
Yep. Yep, very much. Yeah.
And then I don't know what happens. What happens? We see then he has a sidekick.
Yes.
Bram, I think.
Yeah, kind of like Gabby is to Xena, warrior princess.
Yeah, just kind of like his little personal assistant. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Gabrielle.
Yeah. Like he doesn't really do much, but he's always there. People are kind of flocking to him too because he's part of this famous dragon hunters crew. And
we see he does magic. So
yes, right.
It immediately elevates him and
above Gabby.
Oh, for sure, above Gabby. Gabby didn't know magic.
And I do like how the woman that the dragon, what's his name again? The woman that the dragon hunter
Gavion.
Gavion, yeah. Was just having his little nightly flirtations with. His sidekick like does some kind of blood magic spell and disappears to go warn people.
Yeah.
And she's just like lounging there in the back of the bed, just loving like, oh.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, what the?
He's pulling out this packet of like magic incantations, cuts his hand, and then disappears. And only when he disappears does she look like, oh,
yeah,
amazing.
So weird.
Well, she's seen a lot in her day. Those women, they're tough. So yeah.
So I think so he runs out real fast because he finds out that there's like another big dragon or something's going on with some dragons. The possessed guy is going to do something with dragons. Yeah. At this point in the show, I had no clue what was going on.
It started to lose some coherence at this point. I'm going to be honest with you too. Yeah. Like Sidekick told him that the big boss had disappeared and that he looked like he was going towards the dragon's lair. The guy gets dressed and then Sidekick guy disappears to go warn people. Because I guess there's a whole community of like dragon hunters, right, or something, and so he wants to call the alarm to come and help.
Yeah.
And dragon hunter's going to go and see what's happening.
So Davion goes to see what's happening, and then the possessed guy is like standing over a dead dragon that he like killed.
Yes, the dead dragon that Davion said was too hard for one person to kill.
Yeah.
Now he's dead on its own.
Yeah, so the possessed guy was out there. He's obviously, got some powers.
Oh God, yeah. Like then, beware.
Like the best part is like this other like super dragon comes out.
From where? I don't know. All of a sudden.
And he talks. And he talks so much shit too. He was just shit talking the whole time. Like, you ain't nothing, motherfucker.
Little mouse.
Yeah. It was so weird. He was just talking like and he's like using like slang and stuff. Like he's like just street tough.
Oh yeah. Like, I mean, well, he's like one of the big elder Papa dragons,
Is that what it was? He's just like,
yeah, I mean, that's what I got out of it was that kind of like how this other dragon was being corrupted. The one that the one that was supposedly really powerful was already in a corruption phase and was starting to like lose his coherence or his sanity. And so the bigger Papa Dragon was coming to try to either talk him out or put him down anyway, is what I think happened. And that just appeared to fight him at that moment, but arrived to see that he was already dead and that the bad guy with the green eyes had done it. And so then they started to battle.
Yeah. So the spirit or whatever then possessed the dead dragon, and then there was like this dope dragon fight.
Yes, it was kind of like Lord of the Game of Thrones. It was like the good dragon, the bad dragon.
Yes, and I forgot about that.
Man.
Yeah, I didn't even put that together. But yeah, that part was cool when the dragons are like fighting, and then Davion teams up with the big bad dragon to like kill the possessed dragon,
which I was happy about because at first the big bad dragon was very like hostile, neutral towards Damien. I keep calling him that now.
Whatever.
Towards the dragon hunter guy. It was like, just scuttle on. This is not your fight. Move. You're inconsequential to this. But then during the heat of the battle, Damien came back and helped him and kind of proved his worth.
Yeah. I really wanted them to bump, like do like a fist bump afterwards, and then like the whole show to just be about like their travels, like just being cool, like just smoking weed and like doing cool dragon shit.
Again.
Yeah, show me that smile. Yeah, exactly. But no, that's not how it ends. The big dragon like is dying,
coughs up blood. We think it's going to be like talking to us, and it's like, wow.
Yeah. That part was weird.
Yeah, I'm like, okay.
Davion goes to like, he's like, put me out of my misery. So he goes to kill him. And all of a sudden blood starts squirting out of Davion. What was that? I didn't understand that part. Explain that part to me.
I mean, again, I also was confused. My thought was, as I talked about with your wife earlier briefly, that it did seem like there might have been some warging going on. So maybe the good dragon warged into Damien, and that's why he got that neck thing, because he was damaged there. And it's kind of like there was some.
Oh, all right. And then
I was confused by that because there was no glowing eyes to show us the warging that happened with the bad guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I was so confused.
And maybe Dota fans, let us know. Maybe good warging, no glowing eyes.
Is this a thing? Yeah, I don't know. Explain to us. So then he gets like transferred to the princess, the lady that was in the bar.
That's how it ends.
We find out as a princess.
We wake up, or we go up to the above ground. Princess is there. She sees a nude person.
Yeah. And I was just like, what? I wrote down WTF, naked with the princess. I don't know. And then it ends. So,
and then, don't forget, she's like, Marcy, cover him up.
Yes.
That's where we know Marcy's name. And we're like, oh, Marcy is silent, by the way, and just ordered around the entire time with the princess.
So she just put something over his nipples.
But leave the lower half exposed.
Exactly.
And then that's how it ends, right?
That's how it ends. So it definitely leaves you wanting more, like, because there were two huge what the fuck moments right at the end of the episode.
Yep.
But like for me, it's like, what wins out? My need to know what happened, or my level of confusion throughout the entire episode. And right now, I don't know. Like, I think I want to watch the next episode to see what happened. And then if it's still super confusing, I don't know if I will continue to watch it.
Well, let's put in the Game of Thrones thoughts. Remember the first episode of that? If you didn't read the legend of, the Song of Fire and Ice, it was very confusing too. So many houses and people.
True. Very true.
You really got into it. Now, maybe if we had more of a background in Dota, we might know a little bit more about it. So we're really starting off on the beginning. There's probably a whole world. We know there's a whole world we don't know much about. So,
yeah.
And for that very reason, I would vote to binge this, because I actually think this is a great one to binge. Not because I was so amazingly in love with it at this point, but because I was intrigued and it was too short. I wanted to see more about the story. This whole episode is really about character development of one person, and then about kind of learning more about dragons, and that there can be possessions, and that dragons are powerful but not omnipotent, and where do we go from here? So I would love to binge it just to get through and see the story.
Yeah, you want to see more characters. You want to see what else is in this world.
Powers, exactly. Yeah,
I get that, and I think that's why there's a reason that the game is so beloved. So like, I definitely want to give it another shot, but like, it really needs to not like, it needs to go somewhere for me. Like, it needs to have like some sort of a coherent story. But I do think that the next episode will answer all of my questions about what the heck we just saw. And because like, we didn't even get into any Terror Blade stuff at all.
No,
it was just like, I don't know if we will. I honestly,
I was assuming that was the, and I don't know this at all, but that was the green-eyed.
The spirit was him, like trying to do something. Like, that makes sense.
I'm assuming he's still locked, but thinking of like Sauron, how he could kind of see things from his locked area, like he's kind of trying to do the right things to break through so he can get himself out of it. Is what I'm thinking is trying to happen. Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah, so well, I'll definitely watch at least another one. I think there was 10 episodes, and they're short. Yeah, there was like 23 minutes or something.
Exactly. Yeah,
it went by very fast. So. So that's basically everything about Dota Dragon's Blood episode 1. Mm-hmm. Now, all that being said, we've never played Dota, but you and I are huge fans of the fantasy genre. Mm-hmm. And there are so many awesome things out there that take place in like a fantasy kind of style, fantasy realm genre. So let's talk about like some of our favorite things from the fantasy world. So since this is a game, let's do a game. Let's jump right in with our game. What is your favorite? And I know this is going to be a very difficult decision for you because that's 99% of the games you play
are fantasy.
Uh-huh.
Well, it's actually not that difficult for me. I can pick this one up really easy. And it has the word fantasy in the title of it.
Mm.
So I am going to say my favorite fantasy type setting game would be a role-playing game, obviously. When it would be Final Fantasy IV, which is the one with Cecil and Rosa and Kane, and I think it's Rydia it's pronounced, or Rydia. I have no idea how to pronounce her name. But yeah, it takes place in, I think it's Baron is the name of the planet. It's intergalactic. They actually go to the moon for part of it.
That's cool.
People live, they die, they turn to stone. To see there's walls that come alive and attack people. It's got the highs, the lows. It's got a bard that you really want to hate, although you really do love him at the end because he falls in love with a girl who's a spirit. It's got everything you can hope for. Yeah,
it's got it all. How many times have you played it?
Probably about 20.
Really? Holy cow!
I've played it on Super Nintendo when it came out. I've played it on Game Boy Advanced. I played it on PSP. I played it again, definitely on PlayStation. So I play it a lot. Yeah.
Wow. So now my game, it doesn't have as much of it doesn't fill as much of my heart as Final Fantasy IV does for yours. And I didn't even know. So I picked two because I wasn't sure if my first idea was Bloodborne. Does that qualify in the fantasy genre?
I think so. Yeah. I would call it like a dark fantasy one.
Okay. Yeah. I love that game. I mean, I know you do too. We both platinumed it on the PlayStation. Mostly, probably a lot of thanks to your help in the game. I succeeded. But I thought that one, like the style, the story, mostly the style and the fighting and the weapons for me. And that's when I realized like I'm more drawn.
What do you mean by style? Yeah.
Like the dark, like gothic style to it. The not Lovecraft, maybe a little Lovecraftian. Like that was really, really cool. But my backup was Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning. And that fits more into the high fantasy genre with elves and that sort of thing. I absolutely loved that game. I also platinumed that.
Wasn't that written by R.A. Salvador? Yeah,
he wrote it.
I mean, he's a huge fantasy writer for D&D and for fantasy in general. So
the world that it exists in, like this is to me is one of the probably most underrated games of all time. The world that it exists in is super full of information and characters, and it's just there's so much in there. When you're playing the game, it gets to a point though where you're like you just don't care anymore though because there's so much, and you're just like, all right, it's like so it doesn't add anything really at some point. So that kind of sucks. But this one again, the gameplay loop on this one is what really puts it up in the upper echelon for me. Like both of them, you can have like these cool, super cool weapons and armor. And I love that. I love like kind of like being able to change up my play style depending on my mood.
Yep.
And both of them do that and are both set in like a fantasy world.
100%. I mean, I totally agree with them. I mean, I remember Kingdoms of Amalur. That was one of the few ones because I feel like I'm usually the one who loves RPGs and that style. Just so like that's pretty much the only style I play where you're much more diverse in your play style and your play loves. But that one, I think that was probably like a game of the year when that came out because you always were playing that one.
I put so much. I don't know how many hours I put into that game. A lot to platinum it. By the end, it was just like go around and collect like 1,000 like herbs, and I'm just like playing it like, all right, I gotta do this now. But I still had so much fun because at a certain point, you get so like overpowered that you can just change up. Like you could just be like, okay, I'm gonna try a completely different style of gameplay. Like that was the first game. Normally, I'm like a strength, like a brute kind of character. But this one, I changed it to play with like 2 daggers and like do a speed thing, and I absolutely loved it. It was like the first time I did like a magic and speed build, which is not usually my thing. And I've come around on it. Now I'm starting to do more games like that. So
absolutely. And actually, speaking of that too, I remember I had a character like very much like that. And I usually don't play speed either, but Bloodborne encouraged that kind of play more too. And I had a character also who had, I don't remember what the name of they were, but there was the one that came into like 2 daggers you can make. It was super fast and you could just chain combos. Oh my God.
I remember amazing. You did that a lot. Yes. All right. So next up, let's talk about our favorite fantasy movie.
Oh, I mean, this is cliche, but for me, it's the Lord of the Rings series, the trilogy.
Which you have to pick one. Because I also picked one. I picked Return of the King.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
I couldn't remember if it was Return of the King or Two Towers that I liked the most. So I have to go back and rewatch them. I know it's not the first one. There's too much like, set
development
up and
coming together as a
exposition.
team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
It's hard to pick them on its own. I mean, I guess I would pick Return of the King too, because that's the one where it's just, I think it has the best of all of it. Whereas, the Two Towers, or wait, is that it? Yeah. Has like the, I think just like a lot of fighting and a lot of like high drama. I think Return of the King has like a bunch of like, the hearts in it too. And,
and it has
the story all wraps together then at the end.
Exactly.
And of course,
it has the finale.
So I'm happy about that.
Okay.
That's so funny though. So you picked it too. Cool. Yeah. I was like, oh, I don't know if this is too much of it, but I just love it. I can watch it anytime. Any of those movies.
Yeah, definitely. Like I always rate, like whenever I watch a movie, I rate it on an app that I have. So I just went and I put the list favorite to least favorite, and like Return of the King and Two Towers were both, I have them rated 9 out of 10. The Fellowship was an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
And then I even went down. I was like looking for more fantasy stuff, and I guess there's really not that much like in that genre else out there. Like,
yeah, I'm trying to think of. I just, that one came to my mind right away. So I'm trying to think of what other ones might be out there. I mean, I'm sure there's tons that we can't think of right now.
Yeah, but I mean, there's like,
what about? Go ahead. Like Pan's Labyrinth, like that kind,
that's more horror, but it's still fantasy for sure. Yeah, so that's, I guess, like this one just more fits the exact mold that we're talking about, and it's so good. So why even look further?
Exactly.
All right, let's move into TV shows. What's your favorite? Now I feel like there's more of an option.
There are. I mean, I'll have to put it up for, the Game of Thrones series, I have to say. Obviously, the last couple of seasons were fine. But again, I think translating in, I saw the first season without having read the books, but I was so intoxicated by the world that I needed to read the books, and I read them all as fast as possible.
Yeah.
So there hasn't been a series that really, I thought, like captured my imagination and made me like invest in it. Maybe any genre in a long time. And so I still have to give it to that one, even though the last seasons were a little bit shaky. Again, it had Melisandre in it. You see this trend of me liking these powerful, mysterious ladies. So yeah. You?
So I thought about Game of Thrones, but then I, a little bit, like I said, not as high fantasy as that, Knights and Swords and Dragons. They still exist in this world. But for me, The Magicians, one of my favorite TV series of all time.
Okay, cool. You talked about this, and I have to watch. Tell me more, because I need to watch this now. You rated so high. Now it's serious.
They're based on a book by Lev Grossman about a character named Quentin. This character in the book we named our son Quentin after this character in the book. In the show, the character in the show grew on us too. But yeah, it's like sexy Harry. It's even more sexy Harry Potter than Fate was. So it's
all right. I don't know if I knew that. Yeah. Yeah,
it's just like a bunch of good-looking people in like a college for magic, but it's like it's tongue-in-cheek and it's self-aware. It's like there are dragons in it.
Was like how it kind of
it's very Buffy-y for sure. But like then more like the only thing, like there's a lot of cursing in it. Mm-hmm. It was a sci-fi series, but they say the F word a lot. There's no nudity, but it's a very much more adult version than like Harry Potter or Buffy. But it's just, there's gods. At one point they have to, like, to get the power to beat like an evil, they drink the jizz of a god.
Okay. Oh, wow. That's from American Gods.
Adult it is. So but it's such a good show. And there's dragons, so it qualifies as fantasy.
Absolutely. I would say yeah.
There's a dragon that lives. Yeah, there's a dragon that lives like in like the like some sort of river in New York or whatever, New Jersey or something. It's like really funny, and she like just talks. It's very strange. It's a great show. I definitely think you should watch it.
Yeah.
I think you would like it. And there's parts where they just burst into song, and they're like some of the best episodes. The series finished, and like I think like I cried more at this end of the series than I did it ever at any show ever.
Even Dawson's Creek. I know that was one of your favorites.
Dude. Yes. Way more. So I still can't go back to watch it. I think all the seasons are now on Netflix or will soon be available on Netflix. So I definitely recommend it. And
I mean, you've always talked about it. I remember, I know about Quentin, obviously, and you're naming it from that show. I didn't realize though that you really loved, obviously, the books as much too, but the show that much. It's good to know. Okay, great, cool.
Yeah, love the books, and like even going back and like they're very, very different from the show. The first season like kind of follows the book pretty well, and then it takes off and it becomes its own thing, and still very, very great. Tons of character. You really fall in love with all of the characters in the show. But I mean, I could keep going on and on about it, but
I love it.
let's keep moving on. And now this is a tough one because again, there's so much out there. But what's your favorite book that's set in the fantasy realm?
This one was really hard too, actually. I'm actually just trying to look up because I just remembered one, and I was like, oh shoot, who was the author of this one? This one's hard for me because with fantasy books, I tend to like read one or two of them and then I kind of peter out on them.
Because they're usually super long too. You can't do that too often.
Yep. And I've already named, Lord of the Rings and the Song of Ice and Fire, those ones. So I'm excluding those because those are obviously classics in my mind. But, there's Garth. Is it Garth Nix? That's what I was trying to look up again. Have you heard of him before? He's done things called, was it Sabriel? And it's more like usually young adult fiction, but it's done one called Angel Mage, and he does a kind of a wide variety of them. And I find his pretty interesting. I think his worlds that he builds are kind of cool, and they're easy to get into. I also honestly like. Oh, go ahead.
What type of fantasy is it? Like magic and swords and stuff like that?
Yeah. Angel Mage, for instance, was one of his one-offs. I don't know if it's a trilogy at this point, but it was basically these people who had like brooches, and the brooches could have like they're clerics mostly who had brooches, and the brooches could communicate with angels, and the angels would, depending on the power of the brooch, do more or less powers for them. And so certain people were becoming it was interesting, but certain angels stopped communicating with some of the priests who had them, and they're trying to figure out what happened. It was pretty interesting. Yeah,
it is cool. I like that. It's a different take on things.
Yeah, and there's another book that's similar to, and I can't remember the author's name. That's what I was trying to look up also, and it's called Wicked Saints. And she had necklaces that could communicate with the gods too, and she could use those necklaces to try to have like special like prayers being answered. And it was kind of a similar kind of a thing. So I like that kind of fantasy. I've been getting into. We've talked about this, my obsession with nuns and that kind of stuff. So there's this whole realm of kind of like religious fantasy, which is kind of strange but interesting. So I don't know. Tell me, let's talk about some of yours. So, and by the way, any Dungeons and Dragons books, those ones that come out about the Forgotten Realms, and they're using the powers based in the worlds with the gods and goddesses. I love that shit stuff. Yeah.
For me, I had a hard time like figuring out which one for me. It was a toss up between two, and they're very, very different. So they're both graphic novels.
Yep.
The first, my favorite that I determined my favorite is this book called Rat Queens. By Curtis Wiebe, and in it, it's like again, it's like an R-rated. It's like these 4 rat queens. They're called. This is their group, and
they're not rats.
No, they're people. There's one dwarf or gnome, and then one that's a like a sorcerer, and then one that's like a barbarian, and then one that's like a rogue. And so it's very like that high fantasy. There's elves and orcs and that sort of thing, but it's a comedy.
I love it. Yeah.
Very adult. There's a lot of cursing, a lot of sex, but it's like they're just, I forget what there was like a tagline that the book described it as, like I don't even remember. It was something like Lord of the Rings meets, I don't know, something like R-rated. I don't know, but it's like I absolutely love it.
It sounds amazing.
So it does, like, kind of like, so if we're rating it as a whole, like, it's that one is tough because the first book is so good. It sets up the character so well, the world, you like love these characters, and then it kind of fizzles out. There was like some issues with the author and the artists, that there was like this whole thing. I won't get into it, but it was like, it's like this, it was a whole thing. And then since then, it kind of hasn't found its footing again after the first artist departed. So the other one I absolutely love is a book called Nimona. That's a single, like a graphic novel. Just and that as a whole, I think definitely stands up to it. And even then, like Liz was saying, she's like, I don't think of that as fantasy, but I'm like, what? It's dragons and knights and wizards, like, but it's not about really any of that stuff. It's more about a relationship between like a couple people. So that one, it's less about, like, it's set in a fantasy world, but it's more about like the people in the story.
Okay.
As opposed to them like going out doing quests and fighting dragons and shit like that. So
do they do that at all, or not so much?
They do, yeah. Okay. There are points where they do it, and it's just kind of an aside, like, okay, we got to go do this now. And it's more about like, the Nimona and this other guy's relationship. So those are my two. I'm a big fan of that. I tell everybody about it, and that's like a YA, that's like a young adult book about like identity and stuff like that. Okay. So it's very well written, and I highly recommend that as well. So
very, very cool. Yeah, Nimona. I've seen that. Yeah. The Strand here in the city. It's been on the like, I think I don't know. They've got a table where they have like greatest hits or best hits or indie classics or something. And that's on that table all the time.
Yes, it deserves to be. And it's a quick read. Like I said, it's a graphic novel, and B, it's like for younger kids. So, I mean, you could read it in an hour.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it. So, so that's our list. Let us know your list. Leave a comment. Send us a message. Let us know what your favorites are, or what we should have picked. I mean, there's so many, like we couldn't think of a friggin' movie, a different movie. What if there's like an amazing movie that we just?
What's the one with Heath Ledger?
A Knight's Tale.
Yeah, that's the one.
I was thinking that too, and that's like more like medieval knight type stuff, and not so much like fantasy.
I mean, The Evil Dead.
Yeah, my other one was How to Train Your Dragon. I loved that movie. I thought that was a good one.
I mean, you're right, like Shrek. I guess you could pick like that.
Shrek. That's nobody's favorite.
I mean, it's not ours, but somebody might have picked it.
I saw they're re-releasing Shrek in 4K.
Wow.
What the world needs. Absolutely.
Yep. I mean,
somebody wants to. I love that part.
I just remember getting annoyed that
there wasn't
a song.
Oh yeah, I thought you were saying you wanted more.
It's not a children's song. That is. But we'll get into that a different day.
Speaking of which, there was a First Aid Kit just came out with a Leonard Cohen cover album. You should check it out.
Wow,
that song is beautiful on there. It's a live thing. Very good.
Sounds great. Will do.
Yeah. So let's talk about our first big giveaway.
Yes.
The first, it's our first. There's a lot of firsts. First giveaway, first eps, and it's our favorites box. So it's basically like we just talked about now, like our favorites. We have a lot of opinions, and we're going to give a box to someone. Look at the notes of the episode. Look at our Instagram or our Twitter, First Apps Podcast, for both of those, for rules on how to enter the giveaway. There's some cool stuff in there, some movies, some wrestling stuff, our favorite snacks, Amazon gift card, graphic novel. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff. It's going to be fun. I'm really excited to share that just to celebrate. Like we just, we had a couple great milestones in terms of our Twitter followers and our downloads. So like it's all happening and we're having so much fun doing it. So like, let's grow this thing even more. So definitely check out our Instagram and or our Twitter because you need to be a follower at one of those in order to win the giveaway. So any questions or anything, definitely shoot us a message or an email. But this was a super fun episode. I really liked talking about fantasy stuff. It's like one of our favorite genres. So like any excuse, like I feel like that watching Dota was just an excuse to like really talk about this shit. And it was totally worth it. So
100%. I saw dragons in there. I'm like, let's do this. Yes.
Yeah. Now for next week, you and I were toying with the idea of doing a retro rewind and watching a first episode of something that it has existed for many years, something that we may have seen, but not in, years since it came out. So we still have to discuss what shows we may choose for that one. But I think that's going to be a super fun one too. To go back and just kind of like see how they hold up and stuff like that, as opposed to just watching something that had just come out. So that'll be a lot of fun. So definitely come back, check that one out next week. And like I said, follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Go to our YouTube page, Pop Culture Playground. Subscribe there. There's lots of just put up a movie review for Raya and the Last Dragon. And, that's where you'll get the weekly episodes of First Eps in addition to all the other awesome content that we're churning out. So subscribe to that and we'll see you next week. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
We still have to do our theme thing where we turn around and like say like I
don't know why.
Donna Martin.
Yes. Brian Austin Green.